The IPO of Hyundai Motors India is officially open for subscription, but the excitement surrounding India's biggest IPO seems to be fading fast. At a time when even underperforming listings are debuting at impressive premiums, Hyundai's IPO is struggling to gain traction among investors in the grey market. Just a few days ago, the grey market premium for Hyundai stood at a notable 30%. Now, it's plummeted to just 1.5%. So what's causing concern among high net worth individuals and stockbrokers? And more importantly, should retail investors reconsider their bets on this South Korean automaker? To help us unpack these questions and provide valuable insights, we are joined by Mohit Gang, co-founder and CEO of Moneyfront. Mohit, thank you for giving us time here on News9. Now, the GMP for Hyundai shares has declined substantially. It currently is about, at about rupees 30, which indicates just about a 1.5% listing gains, down from about 89% from the high of 570. What's worrying investors?
Hi Suyash. Look, honestly, my single bit take on this is no one should be worried about GMP if you're a long-term investor. Honestly, I don't think so. That's the right matrix or right indicator of looking at an IPO, unless you are looking at a listing day pop. Look, GMP is only significant if you're a listing day gamer. You are getting into an IPO and then trying to make a quick buck out of it. But in IPOs of this size and this magnitude, honestly, I don't think so. Listing gains can be massive for anyone. It's a significantly large size issue. Honestly, I think it's only suitable for investors who have a 3 to 5 year kind of a view, because that's where the whole India automaker story pops out. Honestly, if you see, there's only one significant player right now, Maruti, in the passenger vehicle segment, and then you have Tata Motors and M&M, which are relatively smaller in size as compared to Maruti. And in between now you will have Hyundai with a significant share of PV vehicles at around 14.5, 15% market share, if I'm not wrong. And in the hatchback segment, right? In the hatchback segment, I think Hyundai typically controls the entire thing. It is almost 60% kind of a market share on that segment. So my sense is this is the GMP falling is worrisome for investors who are looking at a listing day pop. For those who are investing with a 3 to 5 year view, I don't think so anything changes. Fundamentally, it's a great company to look forward to, and kind of opens up the automotive the auto sector in India to a large extent, with a global player entering in. So yeah, I think that's the whole take.
Mohit, I think Hyundai particularly has two big problems that it needs to address. One, so far they have relied heavily on non-electric passenger vehicles. Now they do plan to launch four EVs starting with Creta next year, and they also have committed a massive 20,000 crore to electric vehicle development in India over the next 8 years. But then again, there are no guarantees that the company will successfully implement an effective and affordable EV strategy. And then the other issue is that Hyundai in recent years has felt the pinch of a shifting consumer preference from small budget cars to SUVs. Its market share has dropped from 18% in financial year 22 to 15% in 24. How do you see Hyundai addressing these challenges going forward?
Okay, look, so first things first, a disclaimer, I'm a proud owner of a Hyundai vehicle for quite some years now, and I'm fairly satisfied and happy with the servicing and the quality of vehicle and everything. Honestly, I've had no complaints, and not that I've not had Maruti. Maruti was one of my first cars, so I've had both. Right. But I think coming back to the question, Suyash out here, look, on the ICE part which you were saying, I understand they are not that dominant a player, and so is not Maruti. Honestly, I think it's both Tata and M&M which are taking the lead in that segment currently. And my sense is, look, with global behemoths, you can always be sure that they will catch up on technology and they can get in with quick launches once they're listed in the country. I'm sure if they find merit in it, they can come out. And one good launch can change fortunes in auto industry, that we have seen time in and time out again, right? So whether it be Maruti or whether it be the two-wheeler segment, right? One good launch and suddenly your fortunes can change in this industry totally. So I will not completely rule them out on that part. And the second part of your question was on the hatchback segment or the SUV segment per se. My sense is, look, Hyundai Creta and Hyundai Venue, both are massively popular cars in the mid segment MUV kind of a segment and the SUV segment both. And I think they're market leaders in that. If I'm not wrong on my data. So my sense is they're pretty strong on that. Yes, it's true that they have not had any new launches post Creta which have been that successful. They've also successfully rebranded and rechristened Creta and got that freshly launched in market, if I'm not wrong, last year. And which is again working very well for them. So my sense is no other significant player in that particular price point, which is, I would say, let's say a 12 lakh to a 30 lakh kind of a price point. They do have competitors. I'm not saying they don't have, but I think they still continue to rule be the dominant player in that segment, and which is what actually makes them a little attractive right now. I think because that's one portion of PV market which they completely control. They're not so popular in the sedan market or even on the higher end market or anything. I think that's the one particular band which they really control well. I think one of the other problems is the sister concern Kia. Which is a group entity, honestly, in the Korean markets, and out here is a fierce competitor, and that's where they're losing market share, honestly. I think so Kia Seltos versus Hyundai Creta is a big battle, and that's where they have typically lost some ground. So, and it's a sister concern, right? So, but yeah, I think as luck would have it, so that's their biggest drawback or competitive flashpoint right now, if you ask me.
All right, another Korean company, Samsung, now is in hot waters amid the ongoing workers' protests in Chennai. Now, Hyundai too produces all its passenger vehicles and parts exclusively out of its Chennai factory, meaning any disruptions or halt in manufacturing operations could adversely impact the company's overall results and financial conditions. Are you concerned about this?
Not really, honestly. I think these are part and parcel of every big companies. Some companies manage it pretty well than other firms, and it is also the political landscape in that country in which you are operating. In India, you ought to be cognizant of these kind of risks. Right, we have seen again in Maruti and Hero Honda labor strikes and labor union issues cropping up time in and time out again. But I think companies have been fairly resilient and they've been able to manage and tackle these pretty well. My sense is, from a location perspective, I think Hyundai operates in a slightly friendlier location, if you were to ask me. Right. So again, just at a very top level, I'm trying and deciphering the entire situation. But my sense is I don't see that as a big issue, honestly. The only thing is they haven't left enough on the table, Suresh. Just to be very honest as to why coming back and circling back to your first question, which is why the GMP is falling. Maybe that's because of the market volatility, overall markets taking a breather and a pause and all those kind of things. But I think they haven't left enough on the table. The anchor book is as good as it gets, right? You name a company and it's out there. It's a 14-pager anchor book, 8,300 crores already done, signed, delivered, right out of that kind of an issue size. So it's the marquee list of anchor investors. But from a retail investor's perspective, at a 26 times P, when a Maruti is available at 30 times, then the market leader is available at 30 times P. It doesn't leave too much on the table. So I think it's a 3 to 5 year kind of a call. IPO pop, absolutely.
Now, Mohit, my final question to you is that, a lot has been said about the IPO. Size is too big, valuations are too steep. What's your final verdict on the IPO?
Again, I would repeat, Suresh, it's a great management, great company, almost the second biggest player in the auto industry, in the PV auto industry in the country today, right? With a significant market share, significant amount of service quality. Honestly, I think after Maruti, if there's any good automaker with a good service mechanism out and out, I think I'll have to give tremendous amount of compliments to the Hyundai management for that. So all those things are very well in place. Look, Indian market is massive, right? We have a lot to catch up on this front with the global peers and the global biggies. So if you are a 3 to 5 year investor, if you are bullish on the auto industry, if you think more and more individual families in India will upgrade to the first and the second car, then I think Hyundai is a great IPO to be in with a 5-year, 10-year kind of investment. Look what happened to Maruti if you were an investor 10 years back, right? So my sense is Maruti might not control that kind of a market share going forward. You will have enough and more competition from all three players, which is Hyundai, Tata Motors, and M&M, and perhaps few others, right? And the market share of Maruti will get chopped off to a large extent. I'll be surprised if they continue to hold that kind of market share after 10 years also in this country, right? And the other three will benefit to a large extent from that thing, provided they are able to supplement it with good amount of R&D, new launches, and other things, right? Which I think Hyundai is in a good spot to do that. It is absolutely a no-go zone for listing gamers. It's not a thing of it's not a 200 500,000 crore kind of an issue which will give you 100% 50% kind of a gains. It's a massive issue, right? And so my sense is I'll be very happy to see a flat listing or just about a nominal listing on this one, and I think that should do good to everyone in the country.